Well, from one franchise to another, it's time to dive into Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. We might be getting a little full of ourselves with the saga part, but whatever. And I really am going to the opposite end of the fandom spectrum on this one, because this movie is an entry in a franchise that I don't even like. Yeah, I know there are some fans out there who will vehemently defend Mad Max Fury Road. I am not one of them. It's not that I dislike the movie exactly, it's just not my thing. It was made for an audience that I'm not really a part of anymore. If you like it, congratulations. But I grew out of my action junkie phase a long time ago, and at this point I don't think I'm going back. So I didn't have much interest in seeing Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I was seeing it just to review it. But every once in a while, it's nice to be surprised, because I think I actually like this movie more than Fury Road. Now, there are some caveats here. It's still not the kind of movie I'm into, but that's okay, it doesn't have to be. I don't need to be the target audience for this film to be able to appreciate it. And there are things to appreciate here, in my opinion, more than there were in Fury Road. One of the things about Fury Road that kind of left me cold was that it didn't make me care about anything. Even with the title character, I was like, who is this guy? Why is he here? Beyond just wanting to stay alive, what is he about? What's motivating him? What is he trying to accomplish? I don't know. The action was fun and Furiosa was cool, but there just wasn't much there in terms of story and character. And it's basically the same situation here, but this movie does try to have a little more going on than just the punchy boom boom stuff. Don't get me wrong, the plot is still stretched very thin, and they absolutely could have cut at least 20 minutes out of this thing, but there is more. Not much more, but it's something. We get to learn more about the character here, what's driving her, why she is the way she is. She's kidnapped by a warlord as a child, eventually falls in with Immortan Joe. The rest of the film is about her trying to survive and get revenge. And that's about it. So yeah, it's not breaking the mold in that department. There's not a ton of story to go on, but it's still more than Fury Road had. And there is enough to it that it made me want to stick around and root for this character, because what happened to her was really f***ed up. Take that away, and it's pretty much all action. And this is definitely what the movie does best. If you're here for the explosions and the car chases and the shiny things, you're gonna be happy. There's tons and tons of that stuff. And even though it's not what interested me, I really did like how they went about this. I've become so desensitized to action scenes in today's modern age of CG and green screen and doing everything in computers. But here's a movie shooting action on practical sets, doing practical stunts with real pyrotechnics, real explosions, and I'm sure there's CG and green screen in there too, but they don't go crazy with it. And there was something so refreshingly old school about that. Knowing I was watching real cars flip over, real stunt people getting lit on fire, it hits you in a more visceral way, knowing the whole thing wasn't just rendered by a team of overworked, underpaid animators, especially when it's this good. Holy shit, is the action well done. It's hard-hitting, intense as hell, and it never gets ridiculous or stupid, unlike some other car-themed movies that I could mention. Hello, me from the editing dungeon again, since I'm sure there's gonna be comments about this. I'm not saying there isn't a lot of CG and green screen in this movie. There is. I'm not saying that all the stunts are practical. They're not. But one, they look a lot better than they did in the trailer when many of the effects weren't finished yet. And two, they do a really good job of blending those things together with the practical stuff so you don't notice it nearly as much as you tend to in other things. And now, back to the review. The only thing I could really complain about is that the action scenes go on forever. They feel like they're never going to end sometimes. The filmmakers could have easily gotten their point across by reining themselves in a bit, in my opinion. I mean, these sequences last for so long, they start to feel self-indulgent after a while. But shit, if you're seeing the movie for the adrenaline rush, that might not even matter to you. Again, it's a personal preference thing. So the action is fantastic. I just thought it was overdone. But that's not the worst problem to have, I guess. And it helps when you've got a great cast performing the action. And by cast, I'm really just talking about the two leads. They're basically the only ones who matter here. Everyone else is just playing generic psychopath number 72, number 73, number 74, and so on. But hey, the two leads are both great, and they confirmed a belief I've had for several years now that Anya Taylor-Joy can play just about anything. I already knew how good of an actor she is, but this movie isn't an acting showcase. It's more of a vibe, charisma, screen presence, physicality type of role. She has to be a legit action star here, and I'll be damned if she doesn't pull it off. She throws herself into it, gets her hands dirty, down in the muck with a bunch of dudes twice her size, and never once looked out of place. I totally bought into her as this driven, unhinged warrior type, and that's saying a lot when she's stepping into a role previously played by Charlize motherfucking Theron. And before you ask, no, they don't pull any girl boss shit with her. Furiosa is definitely a badass, but that feels very earned. She has to go through an awful lot of shit to get to that point, and she has to do it while not always being in the spotlight. Anya Taylor-Joy doesn't even show up until like an hour into the movie. Before that, we do spend time with Child Furiosa, but that first hour is really the Chris Hemsworth show, and he does a great job too. His character Dementis is this violent, brutal chaos agent warlord who's also very quirky, eccentric, and flamboyant. It's a weird mix of traits, but it's fun. He's got a lot of personality, he's very engaging, and it fits really well when they play him against Furiosa, who's more of the silent, brooding type. And some people may not go for what Hemsworth is doing here, but at least he stands out from all the other wackadoos on the screen. The only misstep I thought the movie took with these two was the scene where Furiosa loses her arm. They tease it several times before it happens, but the actual moment feels anticlimactic. It's like, shouldn't she be in agonizing pain and bleeding out right now? It's downright bizarre how nonchalant she is about this. They spent the whole movie building up to it, but once they've done it, suddenly it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. She just straps on the prosthetic arm and isn't all that bothered by the whole thing after that. I guess there wasn't time for much introspection because we had to get back to the action and the shooting and the killing. And at the end of the day, if you're looking for a scene where a character has to confront the crushing weight of losing an arm and reflects on this life-changing event and what that's gonna mean for her in the future, you're probably watching the wrong movie. That was kind of what I was hoping for, though. And for me, this moment and this movie pretty much cemented that I'm just not a fan of these bleak, nihilistic, post-apocalyptic narratives where every character has been driven past the brink of insanity, where horrific events like that are so commonplace they've been normalized, where being a good person only gets you killed faster and there's no hope for anybody because the world already ended and they're just trying to survive the aftermath. This type of stuff is why I never got into The Walking Dead. Now, if a setting and tone like that doesn't bother you, you'll probably have a lot more fun with this film than I did. I'm just saying it tends to be a deal breaker when I'm watching a movie. And that's about it, really. The action, the cast, what else is there? Not much if you think about it. There is a story, but not one I couldn't easily sum up in about 10 seconds. We're not talking about some thought-provoking character study or deep introspection about philosophy or mankind's place in the universe or whatever. The movie really isn't that deep. It's guns, car chases, and revenge. That's what you go in for. And it delivers on that stuff, just don't expect it to have much of anything else. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is tough to grade, or it would be if I gave grades to movies. I appreciate a lot of what the filmmakers did with the amazing practical stunts and not going overboard with the CG and whatnot. I really like the two leads. Anya Taylor-Joy proved that she's got action chops. It did a better job of keeping me invested in the main character than Fury Road did. I enjoyed the Furiosa character more than I thought I would. It's a super impressive action spectacle that brings all the pulse-pounding stuff without insulting your intelligence, unlike the last few Fast and Furious movies. Overall, I think it's a good film, but it is too damn long and it is not for me. I guess it really does just come down to what you're into and what you're looking for. If you're an action junkie and you just want to blow off steam with some thrills and adventure and fun and not concern yourself with anything else, I think you'll have a good time with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. If you're looking for something more, something deeper, this is probably not the film for you. It might not be what I want in a movie, but there is an audience for this stuff, even if it's an audience that I'm not a member of. So Furiosa may not be a movie that I'll ever feel the need to watch again, but I do think other people will get a kick out of it, so they must have done something right here. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And most importantly, don't forget to do all the other YouTube things. Hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to have its arm ripped off in the middle of a post-apocalyptic war zone is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.